Welcome back to Blue Pyramid Stories. I'm your host, Storey Clayton. As you'll recall, we were reading Tomorrow's Child by Ray Bradbury. The Horns left the hospital the next day. Polly walked out on her own two good legs, with Peter Horn following her, looking at her in quiet amazement. They did not have the baby with them. That would come later. Horn helped his wife into their helicopter and sat beside her. He lifted the ship, whirring into the warm air. "You're a wonder," he said. "Am I?" she said, lighting a cigarette. "You are. You didn't cry. You didn't do anything." "He's not so bad, you know," she said, "once you get to know him. I can even hold him in my arms. He's warm and he cries, and he even needs his triangular diapers." Here she laughed. He noted a nervous tremor in the laugh, however. "No, I didn't cry, Pete, because that's my baby. Or he will be. He isn't dead. I thank God for that. I don't know how to explain. Still unborn. I like to think that he hasn't been born yet. We're waiting for him to show up. I have confidence in Dr. Walcott. Haven't you?" You're right. He reached over and held her hand. "You know something? You're a peach." "I can hold on," she said, sitting there looking ahead as the green country swung under them. "As long as I know something good will happen, I won't let it hurt or shock me. I'll wait 6 months, and then maybe I'll kill myself." "Polly!" She looked at him as if he'd just come in. "Pete, I'm sorry, but this sort of thing doesn't happen. Once it's over and the baby is finally born, I'll forget it. So quick it'll never have occurred. But if the doctor can't help us, then a mind can't take it. A mind can only tell the body to climb out on the roof and jump." "Things'll be all right," he said, holding to the guide wheel. "They have to be." She said nothing, but let the cigarette smoke blow out of her mouth in the pounding concussion of the helicopter fan. 3 weeks passed. Every day they flew into the Institute to visit Pi, for that was the quiet, calm name that Polly Horn had given to the blue pyramid that lay on the warm sleeping table and blinked up at them. Dr. Walcott was careful to point out that the habits of the child were normal as any others. So many hours sleep, so many awake, so much attentiveness, so much boredom, so much food, so much elimination. Polly Horn listened, and her face softened, and her eyes warmed. At the end of the 3rd week, Dr. Walcott said, "Feel up to taking him home now? You live in the country, don't you? All right, you have an enclosed patio. He can be out there in sunlight, on occasion. He needs a mother's love. That's trite, but nevertheless true. He should be suckled. We have an arrangement where he's been fed by the new feeding mech, cooing voice, warmth, hands and all." Dr. Walcott's voice was dry. "But still I feel you are familiar enough with him now to know he's a pretty healthy child. Are you game, Mrs. Horn?" "Yes, I'm game." "Good. Bring him in every 3rd day for a checkup. Here's his formula. We're working on several solutions now, Mrs. Horn. We should have some results for you by the end of the year. I don't want to say anything definite, but I have reason to believe we'll pull that boy right out of the 4th dimension like a rabbit out of a hat." The doctor was mildly surprised and pleased when Polly Horn kissed him, then and there. Pete Horn took the copter home over the smooth, rolling greens of Griffith. From time to time he looked at the pyramid lying in Polly's arms. She was making cooing noises at it, and was replying in approximately the same way. "I wonder," said Polly. "What?" "How do we look to it?" asked his wife. "I asked Walcott about that. He said we probably look funny to him also. He's in one dimension, we're in another." "You mean we don't look like men and women to him?" "If we could see ourselves, no. But remember, the baby knows nothing of men or women. But to the baby, whatever shape we're in, we're natural. It's accustomed to seeing us shaped like cubes or squares or pyramids, as it sees us from its separate dimension. Babies had no other experience, no other norm with which to compare what it sees. We are its norm. On the other hand, the baby seems weird to us because we compare it to our accustomed shapes and sizes." "Yes, I see. Baby was conscious of movement. One white cube held him in warm appendages. Another white cube sat further over, within an oblong of purple. The oblong moved in the air over a vast bright plane of pyramids, hexagons, oblongs, pillars, bubbles, and multicolored tubes. One white cube made a whistling noise. The other white cube replied with a whistling. The white cube that held him shifted about. Baby watched the 2 white cubes, and watched the fleeing world outside the traveling bubble. Baby felt sleepy. Baby closed his eyes, settled his pyramidal youngness upon the lap of the white cube, and made faint little noises. "He's asleep," said Polly Horne. Summer came. Peter Horne himself was busy with his export-import business, but he made certain he was home every night. Polly was all right during the day, but at night, when she had to be alone with the child, she got to smoking too much, and one night he found her passed out on the davenport, an empty sherry bottle on the table beside her. From then on, he took care of the child himself nights. When it cried, it made weird whistling noises, like some jungle animal lost and wailing. It wasn't the sound of a child. Peter Horne had the nursery soundproofed. "So your wife won't hear your baby crying?" asked the workman. "Yes," said Peter Horne, "so she won't hear." They had a few visitors. They were afraid that someone might stumble on Pie, dear, sweet pyramid little Pie. "What's that noise?" asked visitor one evening, over his cocktail. "Sounds like some sort of bird. You didn't tell me you had an aviary, Peter." "Oh, yes," said Horne, closing the nursery door. "Have another drink. Let's drink, everyone." It was like having a dog or a cat in the house. At least that's how Polly looked upon it. Peter Horne watched her and observed exactly how she talked and petted the small Pie. It was Pie this and Pie that, but somehow with some reserve, and sometimes she would look around the room and touch herself, and her hands would clench and she would look lost and afraid, as if she were waiting for someone to arrive. In September, Polly reported to her husband, "He can say father. Yes, he can. Come on, Pie, say father." She held the blue warm pyramid up. "Wheelie," whistled the little warm blue pyramid. "Again," repeated Polly. "Wheelie," whistled the pyramid. "For God's sake, stop," said Peter Horne. He took the child from her and put it in the nursery, where it whistled over and over that name, that name, that name. Horne came out and poured himself a stiff drink. Polly was laughing quietly. "Isn't that terrific?" she said. "Even his voice is in the fourth dimension. Won't it be nice when he learns to talk later? We'll give him Hamlet's soliloquy to memorize, and he'll say it. It'll come out like something from James Joyce. Aren't we lucky? Give me a drink." "You've had enough," he said. "Thanks, I'll help myself," she said, and did. October and then November. Pie was learning to talk now. He whistled and squealed and made a bell-like tone when he was hungry. Dr. Walcott visited. "When his color is a constant bright blue," said the doctor, "that means he's healthy. When the color fades, dull, the child is feeling poorly. Remember that." "Oh, yes, I will," said Polly. "Robin's egg blue for health, dull cobalt for illness." "Young lady," said Walcott, "better take a couple of these pills and come see me tomorrow for a little chat. I don't like the way you're talking. Stick out your tongue. You been drinking? Look at that stains on your fingers. Cut the cigarettes in half. See you tomorrow." "You don't give me much to go on," said Polly. "It's almost been a year now." "My dear Mrs. Horne, I don't want to excite you continually. When we have our mechs ready, we'll let you know. We're working every day. There'll be an experiment soon. Take those pills now and shut that nice mouth." He chucked Pie under the chin. "Good, healthy baby, by God. 20 pounds if he's an ounce." Baby was conscious of the goings and comings of the two nice white cubes who were with him during all of his waking hours. There was another cube, a gray one, who visited on certain days, but mostly it was the two white cubes who cared for and loved him. He looked up at the warm, rounder, softer white cube, and made the low, warbling, soft sound of contentment. The white cube fed him. He was content. He grew. All was familiar and good. The new year, the year 1989, arrived. Rocket ships flashed on the sky, and helicopters whirred and flourished in the warm California winds. Peter Horne carted home large plates of specially poured blue and gray polarized glass secretly. Through these he peered at his child. Nothing. The pyramid remained a pyramid, no matter if he viewed it through X-ray or yellow cellophane. The barrier was unbreakable. Horne returned quietly to his drinking. The big thing happened early in February. Horne, arriving home in his helicopter, was appalled to see a crowd of neighbors gathered on the lawn of his home. Some of them were sitting, others were standing, still others were moving away with frightened expressions on their faces. Polly was walking the child in the yard. Polly was quite drunk. She held the small blue pyramid by the hand and walked him up and down. She did not see the helicopter land, nor did she pay much attention when Horne came running up. One of the neighbors turned. "Oh, Mr. Horne, it's the cutest thing. Where did you find it?" One of the others cried, "Hey, you're quite the traveler, Horne. Pick it up in South America?" Polly held the pyramid up. Say, Father, she cried, trying to focus on her husband. Wheel, cried the pyramid. Polly, Peter Horn said. He's friendly as a dog or a cat, said Polly, moving the child with her. Oh no, he's not dangerous. He's friendly as a baby. My husband brought him from Afghanistan. The neighbors began to move off. Come back, Polly waved at them. Don't you want to see my baby? Isn't he simply beautiful? He slapped her face. My baby, she said brokenly. He slapped her again and again until she quit saying it and collapsed. He picked her up and took her into the house. Then he came out and took Pie, and then he sat down and phoned the Institute. Dr. Walcott, this is Horn. You'd better have your stuff ready. It's tonight or not at all. There was a hesitation. Finally, Walcott sighed. All right, bring your wife and the child. We'll try to have things in shape. They hung up. Horn sat there studying the pyramid. The neighbors thought he was grand, said his wife, lying on the couch, her eyes shut, her lips trembling. The Institute hall smelled clean, neat, sterile. Dr. Walcott walked along it, followed by Peter Horn and his wife Polly, who was holding Pie in her arms. They turned in at a doorway and stood in a large room. In the center of the room were two tables with large black hoods suspended over them. Behind the tables were a number of machines with dials and levers on them. There was the faintest perceptible hum in the room. Peter Horn looked at Polly for a moment. Walcott gave her a glass of liquid. Drink this, she drank. Now, sit down. They both sat. The doctor put his hands together and looked at them for a moment. I want to tell you what I've been doing in the last few months, he said. I've tried to bring the baby out of whatever hell dimension, 4th, 5th, or 6th, that it is in. Each time you left the baby for a checkup, we worked on the problem. Now we have a solution, but it has nothing to do with bringing the baby out of the dimension in which it exists. Polly sank back. Horn simply watched the doctor carefully for anything he might say. Walcott leaned forward. I can't bring Pie out, but I can put you people in. That's it. He spread his hands. Horn looked at the machine in the corner. You mean you can send us into Pie's dimension? If you want to go badly enough. Polly said nothing. She held Pie quietly and looked at him. Dr. Walcott explained. We know what series of malfunctions, mechanical and electrical, forced Pie into his present state. We can reproduce those accidents and stresses. But bringing him back is something else. It might take 1,000,000 trials and failures before we got the combination. The combination that jammed him into another space was an accident, but luckily we saw, observed, and recorded it. There are no records for bringing one back. We have to work in the dark. Therefore, it will be easier to put you in the 4th dimension than to bring Pie into ours. Polly asked, simply and earnestly, Will I see my baby as he really is if I go into his dimension? Walcott nodded. Polly said, Then I want to go. Hold on, said Peter Horn. We've only been in this office 5 minutes, and already you're promising away the rest of your life. I'll be with my real baby. I won't care. Dr. Walcott, what will it be like in that dimension, on the other side? There will be no change that you will notice. You will both seem the same size and shape to one another. The pyramid will become a baby, however. You will have an added extra sense. You will be able to interpret what you see differently. But won't we turn into oblongs or pyramids ourselves? And won't you, Doctor, look like some geometrical form instead of a human? Does a blind man who sees for the first time give up his ability to hear or taste? No. All right, then. Stop thinking in terms of subtraction. Think in terms of addition. You're gaining something. You lose nothing. You know what a human looks like, which is an advantage Pie doesn't have, looking out from his dimension. When you arrive over there, you can see Dr. Walcott as both things, a geometrical abstract or a human, as you choose. It will probably make quite a philosopher out of you. There's one other thing, however, and that? To everyone else in the world, you, your wife, and the child will look like abstract forms. The baby a triangle, your wife an oblong, perhaps, yourself a hexagonal solid. The world will be shocked, not you. It will be freaks. You'll be freaks, but you won't know it. You'll have to lead a secluded life, until you find a way to bring all 3 of us out together. That's right, maybe 10 years, 20. I won't recommend it to you. You may both grow quite mad as a result of feeling apart, different. If there's a grain of paranoia in you, it'll come out. It's up to you, naturally. Turns out that's all we have time for. I'm Storey Clayton. Good night.